My beloved child, there are steps you take that are not as steady as you wish. Days when you cannot keep the strength you once promised yourself. Moments when you slip out of the rhythm of trust and think that everything I am doing within you will therefore be interrupted. But I want you to hear this deeply. I am not surprised by your weakness. I knew you before you knew yourself. I see the places where you easily grow weary, the regions where you easily become afraid, the old paths that sometimes still pull you back. One faltering step from you does not make me withdraw my hand. One heavy-hearted day does not make me change my mind. One moment of trembling does not erase what I have begun. I do not love you with a love as fragile as human moods. I love you with a faithfulness stronger than mountains, deeper than the sea, and more enduring than every season you pass through. Sometimes you think that if you fall, I will stand far away and ask why you were not more careful. But I am not a father who merely waits for you to make a mistake so I can rebuke you. I am the one who bends down very quickly, placing my hand beneath you before you fall into the abyss of despair. Many times, you look back and wonder why that event did not crush you, why that word did not make you fall apart, why that failure did not close the entire road, why you only stopped for a moment and were still able to rise again. You thought it was your own endurance, but in truth, my hand had quietly held you up. There are falls I do not allow to become graves. I turn them into places where you learn mercy. There are times when you thought you had lost everything, but I still kept within you a ray of light enough for you to take one more step. Therefore, do not use your emotions as the measure of my guidance. There are days when your heart feels full of fire, when prayer flows easily, when everything seems clear, and you say, He is near. But there are also days when you wake with a heavy chest, a tangled mind, slow steps, and you think I have gone far away. No, my child, I do not draw nearer only because you feel strong, nor do I depart because you feel nothing. My presence does not depend on the brightness of your emotions. I am there when you sing, and I am also there when all you have left is a sigh. I am there when you move quickly, and I am also there when you must stop by the roadside to catch your breath. My faithfulness does not rise and fall with the rhythm of your heart. Rather, your heart needs to be brought back to rest in that faithfulness. There are seasons when I no longer tell you to keep running as before, not because you have become less, but because I am teaching you a deeper rhythm. In the past, you often feared stopping. You thought stopping meant losing. Resting meant falling behind. Slowing down meant missing out. You became used to using busyness to cover insecurity, continuing to carry burdens to prove that you still had value, and smiling to hide the sound of weariness inside. But in my love, there are times when I change your pace. I do not pull you with the rope of pressure. I do not drive you with fear. I slow my steps beside you, not because I am tired, but because I want you to know that you are not abandoned when you can no longer keep up with your old speed. I let you rest without taking back your dignity. I let you sit down without withdrawing the promise. I let you breathe without calling you weak in faith. Remember that you are not the one who holds me by your own strength. I am the one holding you by my covenant of love. You do not need to grip so tightly that your hand grows numb for fear of losing me. When you are weak, I still hold on. When you tremble, I still hold on. When you do not know how to pray, I still understand the language of your silence. There are times when you think you have only a fragile thread connecting you to faith, but you do not know that on the other side of that thread is my hand, and I do not let go. I do not place your entire future upon the strength of your grasp. I place you within my mercy, where fragile things are preserved, where small steps are still counted, where days that do not shine brightly still have value before my eyes. You once thought faith must always be a burning feeling, an unshakable certainty, a strength that makes every fear fall silent at once. But I want to teach you that true faith does not always sound like a trumpet blast. Many times, it is like a small lamp shielded by two hands in a windy night. It is not loud, but it still burns. It does not make you feel strong, but it still keeps you from turning away. Faith is when emotions change and you still remain. It is when you have not yet seen the answer, yet you do not close your heart to me. It is when you cannot clearly hear my voice, yet you still do not choose a path foreign to love. It is when you tremble and still place your foot toward the light. It is when you weep and still whisper, "Please keep me. I see these things. I do not overlook even one hidden choice of yours." Remember Peter on the windy night upon the sea. He stepped down onto the water with faith, but when he looked at the great waves, he became afraid and began to sink. I did not stand far away and rebuke him before saving him. I did not let him sink deeply before teaching the lesson. As soon as he cried out, the hand was extended. What I want you to see in that story is not only that he wavered, but that the saving hand was faster than the depth of the water. You are the same. There are times when you stepped out in faith. Then midway you looked at the waves of circumstance, the winds of anxiety, the depths of the unknown, and you began to sink within your mind. But when you call upon me, even if the call is short, even if it is not beautiful, even if it is only a broken breath, I still reach out my hand. I am not ashamed that you need to be rescued. I am not discouraged that you must learn trust again. I am Father, and a father does not grow tired of lifting up his child. So do not turn every stumble into a sentence against yourself. There are missteps that only show you where more healing is needed, where more light is needed, where you are still leaning on your own strength. Learn from them, but do not build a house in self-blame. Repent when needed, but do not let shame pull you far from me. Rise again, but do not rise by pride. Rise in my arms. I do not need you to pretend that you do not tremble. I only invite you to give that trembling to me. I do not need you to prove that you are never weak. I only invite you to let my strength uphold the places where you are weak. I do not need you to walk very fast in order for me to believe you. I only invite you to walk truthfully with me, step by step, day by day, breath by breath. There will be stages where you walk with joy, and there will also be stages where you walk by quiet obedience. I see both. Some days you walk like someone lifted by the wind behind them. Some days you can only drag one small step that no one notices. But in my eyes, that small step is still precious if it is turned toward me. Do not compare your slow season with someone else's fast season. Do not use the old rhythm to condemn the new rhythm. There are times when I strengthen you by allowing you to go far. There are times when I deepen you by teaching you to rest. There are times when I reveal my power through your overcoming. There are times when I reveal my love through allowing you to stop and still be called my beloved child. My beloved child. There is something I want to gently remove from your heart, because it has been there for a long time and has quietly made you tired. You once thought peace was only present when every sound had died down, when no one made demands, when there were no more decisions to make, when difficult questions no longer stood at the door, when responsibilities no longer pulled you in many directions. You imagined peace as a sealed room where the wind could not enter, where the water could not be disturbed, where you could sit still without life touching you. Because you believed this, many times you withdrew into yourself. You avoided meetings that might make you uncomfortable, evaded conversations that required courage, stepped back from places where I was inviting you to grow, and closed doors simply because you feared that if you opened them, you would have to face something beyond your strength. You called it guarding your heart. called it wisdom, called it stability. But I looked deeper and saw a child trying to find quiet by making their life smaller. I do not blame you for this. I know you have been hurt by noise. I know there were seasons when you were stretched by too many words, too many expectations, too many changes, until you began to believe that only when everything stopped could you breathe. But my child, the peace I give is not a place for you to disappear from life. Peace is not a cave for you to hide from the wind, but a rock foundation on which you can stand firm in the wind. If you are only peaceful when there are no trials, then what you have is not deep peace. It is merely a pause granted by circumstances. True peace is what remains when circumstances are not yet favorable, when people's hearts have not yet softened, when tomorrow is not yet clear, when you still must step out, still must love, still must choose what is right, still must be present in the portion of life I have entrusted to you. You have been used to measuring stability by what happens outwardly. When work goes smoothly, you say you are at peace. When someone treats you kindly, you feel lighthearted. When the plan is in your hands, you think you are steady. But with just one cold word, one unexpected change, one delay, one closing door, you immediately think peace has left you. No, my beloved child, my peace is not that fragile. What leaves in those moments is not true peace, but the sense of safety you built from control. That feeling is like a thin tent pitched on sand. It may seem to shield you from the sun on a windless day, but one strong gust is enough to make you panic. I do not want you to live forever in that tent. I want to place your feet on a firmer foundation, where you do not need everything to behave according to your will in order for you to stand still. Therefore, when life begins to grow noisy, do not quickly conclude that I have withdrawn peace from you. Perhaps I am simply showing you where you have placed your foundation. If your foundation is the approval of others, one unclear expression can be enough to make you lose direction. If your foundation is results, one failure can be enough to make you doubt your worth. If your foundation is being able to predict everything, one small event can become a storm within your heart. But if your foundation is my presence, you can stand amid unfinished things and still not fall apart. Not because you feel nothing, but because emotion is no longer the throne that governs you. Not because you have become cold and hard, but because beneath your trembling, there is a deeper place that I hold steady. I want you to remember Nehemiah, the one who returned to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem in a time filled with opposition. He did not work in a peaceful setting. Around him were mockery, schemes to discourage, threats, and pressure from many sides. If he had believed peace existed only when all opposing voices were gone, he would have let go very early. But he learned to stand in the work I had assigned, remaining watchful, building, encouraging the people, and refusing to let outside voices pull him away from the purpose. The wall was not built in absolute silence. It was built amid noise, but upon a foundation of obedience. Do you see? Sometimes peace is not me removing every disturbance before you begin. Peace is me keeping you steady enough so you can still build what needs to be built, even while the noise has not yet fallen silent. That story is a mirror for you today. You also have walls that need to be rebuilt, healthy boundaries, fractured trust, weary courage, forgotten hope. And as you rebuild, there will be voices telling you to stop, old memories making you afraid, people who do not understand, circumstances that are not yet favorable. But I do not call you to wait until every sound disappears before you begin living. I call you to learn to stand in the right place. When you stand in me, noise no longer has the right to decide who you are. When you stand in me, you can hear what needs to be heard and let go of what only comes to confuse you. When you stand in me, you do not need to answer every word, explain every choice, or run after every anxious feeling just to calm it down. My beloved child, there is a difference between withdrawing so that I may restore you and hiding because you are afraid. There will be times when I lead you into a quiet place to rest, to be healed, to hear my voice again. Those silences are gifts, not pre-zone. But if you make quietness the only condition for living, you will gradually become afraid of the very life I have given you. You will not dare to love because love may hurt, not dare to step because stepping may bring mistakes, not dare to speak truth because truth may displease someone, not dare to receive your calling because calling always draws you beyond familiar territory. I do not want peace to become a cloth that covers your eyes. I want peace to become sandals under your feet, so you can pass over rough ground without losing yourself. So do not pray only for everything to stop. Pray that you may stand on the right foundation. Do not only ask me to make others gentler, ask me to make your heart wide enough not to be swept into their intensity. Do not only ask me to remove all pressure, ask me to teach you to discern which part is true responsibility and which part is a burden you picked up because of fear. Do not only ask me to make the future clear, ask me to give you enough trust for each step you cannot yet fully see. When you pray in this way, peace will no longer be a feeling that comes and goes, according to the weather of the day. It will become a root, quiet yet firm, keeping you from being uprooted when the wind changes direction. My beloved child, there are truths I place before you, not to make you ashamed, but so you may stop walking in a garment that has become too tight. I know you have grown used to appearing fine, used to saying you can endure, used to smiling even when inside you are so tired that a single caring question could cause tears to rise. You thought strength meant never admitting weariness. That trust meant always moving forward without complaint. That love meant continuing to give, even when the vessel within you was almost empty. But today I want you to hear this with tenderness. When you realize you are exhausted, that is not failure. That is when you begin to become truthful. And what is truthful, when placed in my hands, is always the place where healing begins. Sometimes I allow you to see yourself in a mirror without adornment, not the mirror of the world, where people measure you by achievement, appearance, usefulness, or your ability to endure, but the honest mirror of my love. In it, you see tired eyes, shallow breath, a heart no longer as light as before, hands still working while joy has withdrawn very far away. You do not like that image because it does not resemble the person you want to become. You want to adjust your expression, cover yourself with a layer of calm, say that everything is still under control. But I do not tell you to edit yourself. I tell you to look not to hate yourself, but to stop abandoning yourself. Look not to condemn yourself, but to recognize that the child I love needs rest, needs bandaging, needs to be brought back near the water source. You have called many burdens responsibility, and I understand why. Within you there is compassion, faithfulness, and the desire not to disappoint anyone. When others need help, you often stand up. When work remains unfinished, you often try harder. When a gap appears, you step in to fill it. You have done this not because your heart is bad, but because your heart knows how to care. But my child, loving others does not mean turning yourself into the pillar that holds up the entire house. Responsibility does not mean you must embrace everything beyond the portion I have given you. There are things that belong to you, things that belong to others, and things that belong only to me. When you confuse these three, your kindness will become a chain. and your dedication will gradually become exhaustion. At times, I use a person to tell you something you do not want to hear. They may not speak with a gentle tone. They may be clumsy, sharp-edged, lacking tenderness. After hearing them, your heart immediately becomes defensive, because their words touch exactly the place you have been trying to cover. You ask yourself, if I let go of some things, who will do them? If I rest, will everything collapse? If I admit I am tired, will people think I lack faith? I see those questions. And I do not scold you, but I want to teach you to distinguish between the tone and the seed. Some words come in a rough shell, yet within them there is still a little piece of gold. Do not listen only to the discomfort of the voice, and then miss what I am reminding you of. You have gone too far from the rhythm of rest I prepared for you. You are trying to live as though you are the source, when you were only created to stay close to the source. Sometimes that reminder does not come from a person, but from a sentence you happen to read, a passing image, an afternoon that suddenly makes your throat tighten. One very short sentence can remain within you all day, like bitter medicine still lingering on the tongue. You want to close the page, do something else, push away the ache rising in your chest. But truth does not easily leave when I have allowed it to touch you. It lies quietly beneath the surface, waiting until night falls, until every noise settles, until you no longer have to play the strong one before anyone. And in that silence, you breathe out very slowly and admit, I have been stretched too long, my child. That admission does not make you smaller. It opens the door for me to enter more deeply. I want you to remember the story of Elijah, who had once stood before those who opposed him with great courage and had seen my power revealed clearly, yet afterward ran away in weariness and fear. I did not despise him because he was exhausted. I did not come to him first with rebuke. I let him sleep. I prepared bread and water. I let him eat, rest, then eat and rest again. Before I gave him new direction, I cared for his weariness. Do you see? I do not regard rest as a sign of uselessness. There are times when the holiest thing you can do is not to keep running, but to let me nourish you again. There are times when obedience is not found in doing one more thing, but in lying down within my care and admitting that you are not the one who holds the whole world together. So do not fear the truth about your limits. Limits are not humiliation. Limits are the fences of mercy. They remind you that you are you, and I am I. They keep you from the illusion that everything depends on your strength. They teach you to say no to what has not been assigned, to stop before your heart becomes dry and hardened, to ask for help before quiet endurance turns into bitterness. When you keep crossing every limit without asking me, you may be praised as devoted for a while, but inside you will gradually lose your song. I do not want you to become a person who serves from ashes. I want you to live from the fullness you receive from me. My beloved child, there are burdens you are carrying, not because I place them on your shoulders, but because you fear that letting them go will make you appear unloving. But true love does not require self-destruction. True kindness does not need you to become a place where everyone pours everything out while you are never restored. I can care for the people you love in more ways than you imagine. I can send others. I can open another way. I can work in the space you leave when you obey by resting. Do not make yourself the center of every rescue. You are allowed to be a vessel, not the entire river. You are allowed to be a lamp, not the sun. You are allowed to be tired, allowed to need, allowed to sit beneath the shadow of my wings. From today on, when a reminder touches you, do not quickly resist it simply because it makes you uncomfortable. Bring that word before me. Ask me what part of it is the call of wisdom. Let me separate what is true from what is clumsy, gold from dust, grace from the feeling of being criticized. Not everyone who speaks to you is right, but I can still use a very small fragment to awaken what you have tried to ignore. And when you recognize that you need to rest, need to release some things, need to reorder your life, do not see that as stepping backward. It may be a return to the right path. It may be the moment when you stop pulling a cart too heavy with worn-out hands. So I can teach you to walk under a yoke that is lighter, more rhythmic, and healthier. My beloved child, I do not call you to walk by exhausted striving, nor do I place upon your shoulders a life that must always prove it is strong enough. I do not tell you to use your strength to push back the darkness, nor do I demand that you repair everything broken by yourself, erase every old mark by yourself, or build your worth through works that make others acknowledge you. What I invite you into is deeper and lighter than that. Walk in the light I have given. When you are in the place where I have set you, you do not need to hurry into battle with every shadow. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply is present, and darkness loses its place. You do not need to become someone who has never been wounded in order to live beautifully. You only need to let me shine into the places you once hid, so that what is old no longer rules you, and what is past no longer calls you by the name of shame. There are days when you look back at the past and think you must uproot every memory, forget everything, deny everything, pretend nothing ever happened in order to move forward. But my child, I do not heal you by forcing you to deny your journey. I heal you by bringing light into the places you once feared to look at again. When my light touches the dark places, you will realize there are things that are no longer as frightening as you once believed. Some old wounds are no longer chains, but reminders that you have been preserved. Some painful seasons are no longer sentences, but ground where faith has grown. You do not need to erase yourself from what you have experienced. You only need to stop letting those things sit on the throne of your heart. That throne belongs to me, and when I reign, peace gradually restores order within you. Therefore, do not live like someone who must constantly justify their own existence. Your value is not found in applause, not in how many great things you accomplish, nor in whether everyone understands you correctly. You belong to the light, and what belongs to the light does not need to ask darkness for permission to shine. When you stand in this truth, accusation grows weaker. When you believe that I have called you mine, anxiety no longer has the right to speak the final word. When you open your heart for me to guide you, dawn will no longer be a distant idea, but a real movement drawing nearer day by day. You do not need to explain every mystery. Some things are as simple as the nature of light wherever it shines. The night must retreat. Keep the lamp I have entrusted to you, even if you think it is small. Do not despise the little oil that remains. Do not be ashamed because your light is not as radiant as someone else's. Do not look at your vessel and conclude that I cannot use it. I do not need display to do what is holy. I do not need a flame so large that everyone is amazed from the beginning. I only need what is true. A truthful heart, even trembling, is more precious than a strong appearance far from me. A truthful prayer, even brief, can still open a new sky. A truthful spark of faith, even as thin as a thread, can still lead you through the long night. One true drop of oil in my hand can burn longer than every fire lit by pride. Remember Gideon, the one who once saw himself as small, who hid in fear, who did not think his life could be used by me for a great deliverance. I did not give him a mighty army in the way people would expect. I did not place in his hands weapons that would make others marvel. I used clay jars, torches hidden inside, and trumpets sounded at the right time. When the jars broke, the light within burst forth. and confusion began among the enemy. Do you see? Many times, I do not work through what you consider strongest. I place light inside a vessel that seems fragile, and at the proper time, the very breaking allows the light to be revealed. Therefore, do not fear the cracked places in your life. If you place them in my hands, light can still pass through them. Likewise, there are old things in your life that do not need to be cursed, but need to be put in their proper place. Not every memory is an enemy. Not everything that is past is darkness. Not every old season is useless. There are sunsets that are truly beautiful, so beautiful that you want to stand there longer, red light spread across distant hills, the water holding the last glow of the day, birds returning to their nests, a gentle wind on your shoulders like a word of comfort. These things teach your heart gratitude, appreciation, and tenderness toward the journey already traveled. I do not tell you to hate the sunset, nor do I tell you to despise the beauty that once upheld you in a certain season. But I want you to understand, the beauty of the fading hour is not the place where you build your home. You were not born to anchor your life to the final light of an old day. You are called to walk toward the dawn. There are things that are very beautiful but belong only to one stretch of the road. If you hold them too long, they will become a cord holding your feet back from what I am opening. There are people who were a grace in one season, but not the harbor for your entire life. There are places that once made you feel safe, but are no longer wide enough for the growth I am placing within you. There are habits that once helped you survive a stage, but if you keep them forever, they will keep you from entering new freedom. Therefore, you need wisdom to both give thanks for what is old and have courage not to worship it. I do not want you to live like someone always looking back with eyes full of regret. I want you to look forward with gentle faith. Dawn does not come to shame the sunset. Dawn comes to continue the story of light with a new chapter. What is past can be covered by my mercy, but what is coming has also been prepared by my hand. Do not say you cannot move on because the old place was too beautiful. Do not say you cannot open your heart because what was lost was once precious. I am the one who gave beauty to yesterday, and I am also the one who holds the treasures of tomorrow. If you trusted me in what is past, trust me also in what is opening. My beloved child, rise as one who belongs to the light, not with arrogance, but with the calmness of one who knows they are loved. Keep your lamp burning with truth, with faith, with the times you return to me when you are weary, with unadorned prayers, with small but steadfast obedience. Do not compare your lamp with anyone else's. I know the amount of oil within you. I know the night you have passed through. I know how your hands once trembled as you tried to keep the flame. I do not overlook even one ray of light kept by trust. And as you step toward the new day, remember that light does not win because it is louder than darkness, but because it is light. You belong to that light. So walk on, no longer as one pulled by the fading evening, but as one called by name by the dawn.